Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As most of you probably know tonight's speaker as Collingwood's town crier. Ken Templeman is a member of the Ontario Guild of Town Criers and has served as a director and president of that organization. He is the recipient of the Order of Collingwood. Many volunteer organizations have benefited from Ken's generous donation of time and in a variety of positions, such as the Lions Club, Breaking Down Barriers, F.W. Fisher Foundation, Bible on Days Farm, and he's been the Santa Claus Parade Marshal for a number of years. Not recently, but a little while back. He is a drum major with the Bangor Highlanders Pipe and Drum Band and Sergeant at Arms at the Collingwood Royal Canadian Legion Branch 63. Oh, and by the way, in his spare time, he manages to run a men's hairstylist and barber shop. Tonight, Ken is going to share with us the history of the Royal Canadian Legion. Please join me in welcoming our speaker, Mr. Ken Templeton.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak. I am going to attempt to inform you about the Royal Canadian Legion, both locally and nationally, and along the way I will make references to what we know as post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. Sometimes history gets lost in the who, what, and when. I'm going to concentrate more on the why Legion was formed. Now, a personal disclaimer. I am the son of a soldier, and I regularly hang out with soldiers. So if my language gets a little rough, I apologize now. I do not have an audiovisual program for you. Instead, I'm going to ask you to use your imagination. Are you ready? I'm going to take my hat off. Bang! What the hell was that? A trench mortar has just landed in our trenches, and our good comrades here are gone. Some are vaporized. Poof. Others are blown apart. Many will be wounded. They won't make it till tea time. Imagine what it would look like, dirt, mud, thrown all around. You're covered in it, and it's on your lips, and you can taste it. Imagine what it would smell like. High explosive sulfur and TNT in the air. Acrid smoke mixed with a pink mist. The pink mist are the vaporized comrades. Sounds like, you can't hear it. Your ears are ringing as if someone has struck an anvil with a hammer. People trying to shout, but all you can hear is a mumble of words. Earthy smell of mud mixed with blood, body parts, and pieces. Your hearing comes back, and you hear some crying for mom. Hey, Kenny, got a smoke? Billy's laying there, helmet askew, and I do something that I've done 1,000 times since I got here. Roll a cigarette, and I light it. And I place it in Billy's mouth, and he takes a drag. Kenny, am I hurt? I look and see that below his belt, everything is gone. Nah, he's just got a flesh wound belly, a blighty. But when I look at him, Again, his lifeless eyes are staring into the sky, the cigarette smoking between his lips. There's that damn sergeant major coming down the trench. Get up, you lazy bastards! Get over the hill! We're going to attack. Get up! Pushes me. What's the matter with him? Billy's dead, sir. There's nothing you can do for him. Get up! And I get up. That sound is the most hated sound in the trenches. Because every time a soldier hears that sound, someone's going to die. Is it going to be me? A most horrible place to be. I once read an account where the author of A Letter Home took his tin cup of tea and he placed it in the hand, a skeletonized hand sticking out of the trench wall so that he could continue. And when he wanted a drink, he just reached into the skeleton and took his cup. I'd like to propose a toast, everybody, to Billy.
To Billy.
To Billy. And in the military, very common at every mess dinner, to absent friends. The good news is, of course, you made it. You survived the blast. The bad news is that you'll witness this scene every night in the form of a nightmare for the rest of your life. Now let's jump forward. The war is over, and you're going home. Everything will be better when you get the hell away from here and safely return to what you've known all of your 18 or 19 years. Or in one case that I know of, 15 years. No, doesn't work that way. A hero's welcome for sure. Flags at every corner. People waving and wishing you a welcome home. A horse and wagon are waiting for you at the train station on St. Paul Street. You don't know what's there. They don't know you're coming home. But a veteran who has come home before you is there every train, just in case. He gives you a ride home. Your parents' house is decorated in bunting. The Union flag is hanging off a pedestal in the porch. You go up onto the porch and you go to reach the door and you step back. Been gone 3 years. Do I knock? Or do I come home? It's not my home now. It's my parents' home. I left as a boy, come back as a man. What the hell is it? Walk in. Mom! I'm home! And you hear her cry. She's been baking bread. God, can you smell it? Fresh bread. Beautiful. She comes crying. Gives you a big hug. Calls for your dad. He comes. Gives you a big hug. They get on the phone. Start phoning Uncle Bill and Aunt Mary and whatever. Their prayers have been answered and a joyful time begins. But as everyone is hustling and bustling about getting things for a great celebration, you slip out and go across the street. See, there's a house. There's no bunting. You knock on the door. Billy's mom answers the door. And she starts crying. You don't know what to say. So you hug and you make nice, be polite, and you present her with a small canvas sack that is the last of Billy's earthly remains, his personal effects. His body, of course, is interred, or what's left of it, in the Vimy Ridge Cemetery. She stops and looks at me. Why Billy? I don't know. He was standing there. Why Billy? I don't know. You're feeling uncomfortable and you leave, feeling guilty that it's not you that got killed. Welcome to what is called survivor's guilt. You are going to experience that every day for the rest of your life. You're feeling confused at dinner, then someone asks you a question about the war. What did you do? And you automatically slip into soldier speak, and you tell them about something you saw or did. And when you look around, they're looking at you. Their faces say it all. The way they respond, you suddenly realize you've said too much. They have no idea what you've been through. They have never experienced what you have experienced. Some are looking at you with disgust, doubt, and some would rather just not look at you at all. From now on, you're going to keep your mouth shut. The word of the day, suck it up. Be a man. Don't speak of it again. Lesson number 2, shut up. No one ever taught a soldier how to cope with what they've been through. They teach you how to kill, all right, but they don't teach you what to do about it. Today, after an exercise, the military personnel are encouraged to seek counseling and talk about what's bugging them, but not then. Be a man, they said. Suck it up. One day you're downtown and you run into a buddy from your regiment and decide you're going to go to the Arlington and have a chat. You're not really welcome at the Arlington. You're only 20 years old. You got to be 21 to drink. But he's a veteran of the Boer War. He's got an idea of what you're going through. You boys sit in the back. Don't worry about it. One beer turns to 2, 2 turn to 4, and so on. And you're huddled back there, you and your bud, and you're talking. Conversation comes up about your nightmares, reactions that you've had from your family and friends. You're not just swapping war stories. You're asking, what's wrong with me that I can't sleep or concentrate on the most simplest of tasks? You awake the next morning somewhat refreshed because in your drunken slumber, the nightmare did not come. You may have a mighty headache, but you can fix that. And at first you think it's the drink that helped you sleep. But instinctively you conclude that what you need to do is find someone to talk to. For a change, won't think you're a killer, or worse, a murderer. Lesson number 3, get help. I am the Sergeant at Arms at the Legion. I'm also the Veteran Service Officer, which means I go out and talk to these veterans of the Second World War. I once counseled with a World War II intelligence veteran who, at the age of 20, in a dark night in France, had a soldier, a Nazi soldier, almost step on him because he was hiding. He stood up when the soldier turned away, grabbed him around the mouth, took his dagger and slit his throat. He used his weight to take the surprised soldier down, and he laid on him. He knew the exact moment the soldier died. His body went limp. He never told his family that story. He didn't tell very many people that story. He did not want anybody to think he was a murderer. He died a few years ago at the age of 92, and he told me before that he has had that nightmare every night of his life. So let's get back. Word gets around that a group of veterans who've come home before you have organized the Great War Veterans Association, and they're looking for you to come, find some comrades, and join. They need you. They need you to join to increase their number, and you think maybe they can help. In Collingwood, I'm told to see Claire Trott and find out what it's all about. In 1917, the town of Collingwood allowed the Collingwood chapter to use the basement of the YMCA as their meeting room. There's not much information about this, but they did spill into the rest of the building, helping the youth with various sporting events. And a lot of these veterans had a round-robin competition with others, clubs, boxing competitions. Now let's think about that just for a second. Your 12-year-old boy is learning how to box. The boxing gloves he wears are as big as his head, greatly oversized. He's being taught by these great men. He's being taught by trained killers. Think about that. But eventually the excitement wore off, his membership collapsed, and eventually it closed in 1922. It's interesting to note that across Canada there were 15 such organizations dedicated to helping returned veterans, and the Great War Veterans Association was the largest of them in 1919. In 1925, word gets out that Field Marshal Earl Haig, now Earl Haig of the Haig and Haig whiskey producers, great Scotch, no damn good as a soldier. That's my opinion. My opinion, he's a murdering soldier. His idea of strategy was to line battalions up, one after another, and go get them. He was a soldier who knew nothing about strategy, only attrition. And he thought if he threw enough bodies at them, he'd win. But he didn't care about the bodies. He only cared about winning. I have no respect for this gentleman. But he's in Canada. He's been in Montreal. He's been in Ottawa. He's in Toronto. There's a big ad in the Toronto paper. He's going to have a convention in Winnipeg, and he wants all of us to get on a train and go to Winnipeg. While there, it happens, the Dominion Veterans Alliance was formed. It's a very loosey-goosey name, with good reason. With a special act of Parliament in January of 1926, this became the Canadian Legion of the British Empire Service League. This would change in 1960 to the Royal Canadian Legion, thanks to the patronage of Queen Elizabeth. Early in 1926, the Collingwood Legion was started and received the designation of Branch 63. The wives of the soldiers weren't going to be left out on this, and they immediately formed the Ladies' Auxiliary of Branch 63. And last year, both the branch and the ladies, and nationally, we celebrated 90 years. The names of the first year's officers are well known to Collingwood historians. Claire Trott was president. Duncan McIntyre was first vice president. Alf Jarman was second vice president. And Fred Bindle was secretary treasurer. At first, they met in members' homes and different halls, and membership grew. And when halls were available for free, probably, they would meet there. But the years moved on. Some were not getting the satisfaction of recognition from the government, and they would quit. Some who suffered the gas attacks passed away. Some who had received grievous bodily injury succumbed to their injuries. Membership dwindled. But along came World War II, and membership would eventually increase, and so did their lobbying power. Thousands joined overnight. Some veterans became politicians, and one became our Governor General, George Vanier. In Collingwood, they would try to build their own Legion building where the parking lot is on 2nd and Pine. But funds soon ran out. So they built a roof over the foundation, and they finished the basement and met in the hole for several years. The property value in Pine Street is high. So they got an offer, and they took it. They went and got a mortgage. They had to have the members personally sign and guarantee the mortgage. And they were able to go to the East End and buy the old quarry on Ontario Street and built a brick structure there in 1971. In 1983, this building had an expansion on the west side, giving it a games room and the offices. And again later in the 80s, it expanded the back of the hall for storage. Last year, we put a new roof on the entire building that required us to take out a mortgage. We were able not to worry about securing it as our branch has a great history of business now. Wasn't always so. And this mortgage will be burned in 5 years or sooner if everything stays on track. Saturday night, the president of the Ladies Auxiliary Helen Jameson presented our president, Rob Graham, with a check for $15,000. That's a long way to burning that mortgage. The Collingwood Legion sponsors many sports teams like the Collingwood Bantam and Midget Hockey, minor baseball, league golf, soccer, and many social activities like the Gaslight Tour. Bursaries, public speaking, poster contests leading up to Remembrance Day, and many causes that come into our mailbox, like requests to support the fire department, police department, RVH Hospital, G&M Hospital, the Bangor Pipes and Drums, the 1909 OPP Army Cadets, and even, close to my heart, the Grey and Simcoe Foresters Regiment's 150th anniversary. That was last year. Poppy Fund. Money received from your purchasing a poppy goes into the special account and can only be used for certain things for certain people. It's my job to spend it. And I try. In the years I have been Veteran Service Officer, I have bought eyeglasses, dentures, walkers, and rollators, because there's a difference. Grab bars for the showers, raised toilet seats, canes, paid mileage for trips to see doctors, scooters and ramps, furnace oil, and a specialty item of a medical nature like braces and splints. The next time you buy a poppy, think about the people you're helping me help. We also raise money through our weekly bingo, Nevada ticket sales, 50-50 draws, bar sales, room rentals. We have a meat draw once a month. And then we have seasonal activities like the annual golf tournament. Our annual bowling tournament is later this month. And as you can see, we're a busy branch with a lot going on. Many legions across Canada are not so lucky. They're not doing so well. Too often we hear about one that surrenders its charter to Dominion Command, or about one that's been hanging on for so long they owe thousands of dollars within their community. I said earlier that it's important that the smaller groups organize together so that as one, they can lobby our governments for services and benefits. It's no different today, as we see returning veterans forming their own groups and trying to push the Legion away as they do not see the relevance in their eyes, and they lobby on their own with little or no effect. It is the responsibility of the government of the day to be good stewards with our tax dollar. And the Legion has been the voice that they hear for many years as they look after veterans, widows, and their dependents. We are also charged with the duty to remember those who paid the ultimate sacrifice. Lest we forget is a motto that we take very seriously. With over 1,400 branches from coast to coast, and many more in other countries, we have 275,000 members who will be very busy filling their pledge to remember the fallen next weekend. If at all possible, I invite you to attend our Remembrance Day ceremony at the Cenotaph on Saturday. Dress warm. I heard at dinner time it's going to be cold and snowy. If for nothing else, come out and see this idiot in a kilt. One thing that gets mentioned by the veterans that they're very pleased to see so many people out. And that gives them comfort in knowing that they and what they have been through, wartime or peacetime, they have not been forgotten. The worst thing a veteran fears is that they be forgotten. They write their names on everything. When we were in the tunnels under Vimy Ridge, we saw names, cat badges, personal mementos carved out of the chalk wall. Their name and regimental number underneath it. They don't want to be forgotten. Now, I've been stating my personal opinion. I'm going to continue. I have, as service officer, attended seminars that included talks about PTSD, and especially one very remarkable speaker, John. John was a veteran of the Bosnia-Sarajevo War. I'm going to take a minute and tell you about John. John grew up in Toronto. I can't pronounce his last name, it's Italian. It's about this long. Nice little Italian boy. Nice immigrant parents. John is little. He sees the 48th Highlanders parade down the street with their kilts on and their red tunics and their high feather bonnets. And he is so impressed that when he becomes 18 years old, he sneaks off one Saturday and he joins the 48th Highlanders. He didn't tell his mom and dad at first. They needed to know one time, where do you go every Saturday? Where do you go every Thursday? Mom, Dad, I joined the reserves. I am a soldier. Oh, you are a good boy. You come pay back what we can. We're proud of you. Oh, not exactly the feeling he was thinking he was going to get. So in a few months he came and said, Mom, Dad, we're having a review at the Moss Park Armory. I've got you tickets. So they came. And there comes their son with his feather bonnet and his red coat. And what the hell is he wearing a dress? What's the matter with him? He's wearing a dress. They didn't understand. It's a kilt, and he's proud to wear it. He becomes a sergeant, and he gets tapped to go to Bosnia for a tour of duty. New Year's Eve, 1991. He's riding in the front seat of an Iltis. An Iltis is a poor man's Jeep. It's one ugly car. Beside him is a young corporal of another regiment. He's driving. They've got their blue berets on. The Jeep is white, or the Iltis is white, with big UN on each door, but it has plastic windows. And as they're trying to weave through the crowd, a barrel of an AK-47 pokes in and lights up. John turns like this to get away. He witnesses the corporal's head being exploded. The gun traversed this way. John took 6 bullets across the upper shoulders. If it had been lower, his Kevlar vest might have taken a lot of that. But they don't have padding up here, because that's where it hangs off the shoulders. The Kevlar is only in the vital area. Fortunately for John, they had another team right behind them. The fellow who pulled the trigger on the AK-47 disappeared into the crowd, never to be seen of. John's team back there got him out of the Jeep, loaded him into theirs, and took him to the nearest hospital. John died 3 times on the operating table. Today, John is in London at 31 Brigade Group. He's a civilian. He's office manager for the Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder Counseling Office. He got there because one day, due to his injuries, he was let go, and he stayed at home. And one day his wife came in on a Saturday afternoon and yelled, "John, I have your dry cleaning." And John got out of his lazy boy chair for the first time that day, walked over and said, "What?" He had on sweatpants that he hadn't been out of in over a week. His sweatshirt had almost a daily requirement of a food group on it. It was filthy. He hadn't shaved or showered in over a week. She handed him his mess kit. That is a formal jacket. Red doeskin, green lapels, green cuffs, gold sergeant chevrons on the sleeve. She said, "We're going out to a dance and dinner at the armory. Get dressed." And he said, "No, go to hell." And she said, "John, you will go upstairs, shave, shower, get your kilt on, get dressed, put all of your medals on." He has 8 of them. "And if you don't, you will go upstairs, pack a bag, and get the hell out, because I've had enough. We can't take it anymore." See, John was smoking. He'd never smoked before in his life, but he smoked 2 packs a day, sitting in his lazy boy, drinking beer, which he never drank much beer before. Fought with her, fought with the kids. Nobody could do anything right, in John's opinion. That hit John between the eyes. He went upstairs and did exactly as she said. They went to the armory, and while at dinner, he met an old comrade from Bosnia. But this comrade was working in Toronto with a clinical psychologist treating PTSD, treating soldiers with PTSD. And he talked John into seeing him Monday morning. And he wasn't very successful, and he knew that. So Sunday morning, he showed up at John's house. And he spent all day with him. And then he started his treatment. You see, John's wife knew that this guy was going to be there. So she intervened. Today, John is, like I said, he's overseeing many counseling sessions done by a team. And it's interesting to note, clinical psychologists do not debrief soldiers on their PTSD. For the simple reason they may have a wonderful university degree, but they don't know anything about what these soldiers have gone through. So the only counselors, the only ones who can counsel are specially trained combat veterans. And it's working out very well. There are too many suicides today in the CF members, either current or past, and we need to let these people talk to qualified counselors. Some can't yet. They're just not ready to talk. Some won't for fear of losing their job. But we know they're there. And every once in a while we hear about a suicide because of that. We support PTSD clinics at CFB Borden, and there are many more now at almost all bases in Canada. We also support a program that helps get veterans off the street, and this is a very difficult program. Most homeless people are on the street. They have a mental issue. Well, the soldiers do too. But the difference between a veteran on the street and a rummy on the street is the veteran has been trained how to survive. They know what to do. They know where to go. And it's very, very difficult to get them to come in, even on the coldest nights. Therefore, if you know of anyone who has gone through a traumatic experience and has changed their habits drastically, then these could be the signs of PTSD. And I urge you to understand what they are going through and help them seek mental health experts for counseling. And I'm not talking if you know a soldier. It could be a police officer. It could be a fireman. It could be a paramedic. First responders are now going through this. Nurses are going through this. Teachers are going through this. That's one that's just become evident this past few months. Teachers need counseling because of what they've seen in schools. In conclusion, I hope that I've given you some insight into not just our Legion, but what the Legion stands for and what we stand for. What the Legion supports and what we stand for. I'd like to introduce you to a couple of people. I'll leave this up here so you can come up and have a look if you wish. This gentleman here is my Uncle Fred. Yeah, my Uncle Fred, a veteran of the First World War. He saw Vimy Ridge and Passchendaele, and he survived. He come home to Wingham, and my grandfather, who was a tailor, taught him the tailoring business. And as a 5-year-old, I remember seeing him in my uncle's dry cleaning store in the corner with a single lamp sewing, because in those days if you needed something done you would go to the dry cleaner and they had a tailor. I never knew him other than to see the old crotchety old man over there that my dad would talk to once in a while. Fred was the oldest. My dad was the youngest. That's my dad. He was in the Second World War. He was a member of the Royal Canadian Engineers. He joined in the spring of 1943, ended up in Operation Husky, went to Italy, went through Italy. In the fall of 1944, after the Gothic Line was reached, he returned to England, and then they were detached to Europe, and he was in Holland. I think he was detached to the 48th Highlanders. He came home, but he died at the age of 55. He drank a lot, he smoked a lot, and I don't really know him, but I remember that. I was 10 years old. Are there any questions? Very good. Thank you.